Hi everyone, it's Barbara and welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year! Now that the holidays are over, my craft room is a complete disaster. So I thought that I would bring you some craft room or office organization DIYs. Let's get started on our first project. I am using two of these wood house shapes from Dollar Tree, and I'll remove all of those decorative pieces. I started off by using my hairdryer to loosen the glue up, and then a putty knife to try to scrape and peel that off. And once I get most of that off, I'm going to use some sandpaper to sand it down nice and smooth. Now, a sweet subscriber of mine told me to use some Goo Gone and that would really work well, but I didn't have any Goo Gone on hand, so I just did it the old-fashioned way, just scraping and peeling and sanding until I got it smooth. I also removed the sticker from the back and sanded that down as well. I am using one of these wood cubes with a drawer insert, and I'm going to paint all four of these pieces with my Waverly White chalk paint, and I gave those 2 coats, painting the entire piece, including the inside of both of those cubes. I took a ruler and marked about an inch down from the corner of the top of the house, just so that I could keep my ruler straight, and just drew 3 lines. They might be not even a quarter of an inch wide. You can draw yours however you like. I'm just making some windows. They're about, I think, 3/4 of an inch long, and then just using my ruler to draw that straight edge. To create the door at the bottom, I started off in the center, and then I was going to make it about a half an inch wide, and I thought that that was just too small, so I ended up making it 1 inch wide, and then again just drawing my straight lines. I'm going to go over these with a black oil-based Sharpie, and I'll go over the outline and then also fill that in with a black oil-based Sharpie. What I love about this piece is I love black and white. I love the contrast of it, but you could paint these any color you want. This is just for inspiration. You paint it however your decor is or your style is. I'm going to set that to the side and let it dry. And for the other house, I'm going to start off by going ahead and just drawing the door the same way, about an inch wide. And maybe, I believe it's about an inch tall. And then I started off drawing 2 windows, but I did not really like the way the 2 windows looked, so I do go back in and add a 3rd window. These are about a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch. I'm sorry, I did not pay attention to about how tall they are, but I think they're about 3/4 of an inch tall. But again, you can draw it however you like, whatever design you like. Again, I'll go over this with my oil-based Sharpie and fill those in. And I thought that this would just be a great idea to organize some of my loose items like my paintbrushes. You could put scissors in here, pencils, pens, markers, whatever you like. I am attaching the cube to the back of the house using some Gorilla Wood glue and some hot glue. That hot glue is just going to give it that temporary hold, and the wood glue is going to give it that permanent hold. And for the other cube, I'm going to make sure that I take the piece that has that design, it has like a flower on it, and I'm going to make sure that I attach that part to the back of the house. And I love that this is going to serve 2 purposes. It's going to help me get more organized, but it's also very decorative too. And I just love how these turned out. I hope you like these too. I hope you have enjoyed project number 1. Let me know what you think. I also decided to go ahead and put some craft sticks in there because I have tons of those and they just get piled up in a basket, so I thought this would be a nice way to organize them. If you are new to my channel and you are enjoying today's DIYs, I would love it if you would click that subscribe button and the bell icon below this video. I would also like for you to visit me on Instagram at Country Lily Decor. Moving on to project number 2, I am using these 5-gallon paint sticks. They come 3 in a pack for $1 at Lowe's. And I'm going to cut all 3 of those down using my good old rusty trusty handsaw to 13 1/4 inches long. Now make sure you keep at least 2 of the ends with the handles on it because we're going to be using that for this project as well. So now that I've cut all 3 of those down, I'm going to take and find the center of one of them, which ends up being 6 5/8, so 6 inches, 6 5/8 inches. And I'm taking those 2 end pieces of the stir sticks, facing them to each other, lining it up in the center so I will know how much to cut off of each end. And so when you're finished, both of those will measure 6 or should measure 6 5/8 inches apiece. Yes, they do. So now that I have those 2 cut out, I'm going to take each of those pieces and some sandpaper and sand where I cut nice and smooth. To attach these 2, I'm going to put them facing each other so it has this pretty design right there in the middle. And I'm using some of Dollar Tree's tumbling tower pieces, some Gorilla Wood glue, and some hot glue. And I am going to attach this to the end, making sure it's flush and flat on the bottom. And then I'm going to attach it on the opposite paint stick, on the opposite end of the other paint stick. And then to attach the middle, I'm going to put that tumbling tower piece right there at the bottom. So I'm putting my wood glue, but then I'll take some hot glue to hold those 2 seams together. And then that tumbling tower piece, I can put some hot glue on there too to make sure that it holds those 2 pieces together. So that's going to become the front of a tray we're making. And then I take one of the other pieces and do the same thing. I'm going to add these tumbling tower pieces on each end, and then I'm also going to add one in the middle, just making sure that I do keep them flush to the ends so that everything will square up when you put it together. And that's going to become the back of this tray. And then we'll put the 2 side pieces on the outside of the front and the back. And I have all of this sitting on some wax paper just so to make sure that my hot glue didn't stick the wood to my table. And I'm just going to line everything up and make sure that it's square. And then I'm going to take some tumbling tower pieces and I'm going to add some some wood glue to the end so that it will attach to the end of the other paint stick. And then I put some hot glue on the tumbling tower piece to hold that in place. And I'll do that on the opposite side as well. Then I took some of the tumbling tower pieces, added some wood glue on the end and the side, and that is going to attach to that tumbling tower piece in the corner and the side, and it's going to give it more sturdiness, and also it is going to keep it square. Now these tumbling tower pieces are serving 2 purposes. They're helping to hold all these wood pieces together, but they're also going to become the place where the bottom of our tray will sit. So it'll sit on top of all of these towering pieces. I'm going to call them wood blocks. And then I put those in the corner just like I did at the opposite end. Now, this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I did take some spackling and fill that gap in the front there in so it would be nice and smooth. And now I'm just taking measurements of the inside, and it is 13 1/4 going side to side, and then it's 12 3/4 going the long way. I took some Dollar Tree foam board and marked my measurements out, and I will cut that down. Make sure you put something under there to protect your table so you don't cut your table. And then I'll cut the width down. Once I get that cut down, you can hot glue this into the bottom. I didn't because mine was a pretty good tight fit. It just slid down in there. But I do go in after I get that pushed in, and I'm going to take some hot glue and go around the seam on the inside at the top of the foam board. So if you cut it slightly off, you can just take some hot glue and fill in those gaps so you'll have a nice smooth finish. And I do this all the way around. And I did have one tiny little gap like right there at the right. So I just put some glue in there and let it fill up to the top so it would be nice and smooth. To give it just some tiny little decorative feet, I am using some of Dollar Tree's wood cubes, and I'm going to use some wood glue and hot glue, and I am attaching these on all four corners, and then I'm also going to attach them in the middle everywhere except for the middle of the front, because I didn't think that it would look too good and that it would take away from the design in the front of the tray. And you just want to make sure that when you put your middle pieces in, that you try to keep them in line with the one across from it. So here you can see I've used 3, 6, 7 of them, so I didn't put one in the front. And then I'm going to take my Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm going to paint this entire piece with 2 coats except for the foam board. Just since the foam board was already white, I didn't paint that. So now that this is painted, I can store my scrapbook paper in there, because scrapbook paper, the way I buy it, it's 12 inches by 12 inches. And I had mine stored in like one of my cubbies, and it kept getting rolled up and bent. So now it's very easily accessible, and it will stay nice and straight. And I think it looks really cute on my desk. And I also think that it complements very well with DIY number 1. For project number 3, if you're like me, I have a lot of ribbon and I had it shoved in a basket. So sometimes I would have some open, didn't even know I had it open. So I end up opening 2, and I just get tired of pulling all this ribbon out every time I want to find something. So I am using 2 of Dollar Tree's baskets. They have like a circle and an X on the side. They're about 6.5 inches wide, and I believe they're about 10 inches long. Yes, 10 inches long. And they're pretty flexible, so they bend in and out pretty easily without breaking. And I'm using some bamboo skewers from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut this down to 7.5 inches so I have enough to fit through the basket and then come out the other side. So it will hold 7 of these smaller size Dollar Tree ribbons. And then I just slid that through one of those X's or crosses there on the side. And then I can push the skewer down into the bottom and it'll stay in place. This is such an easy DIY, but it is so great because now it's a small enough basket that I can leave it on my craft table and just pull whatever ribbon off I need. I can see what I have. If you want to use some of the larger size ribbon, it will hold 2 on that side. So the smaller ones, it'll hold about 21. And then not very many of the larger ones, but the smaller ones were the ones I was having so much trouble with trying to figure out what I had. And I just think that these turned out so cute, and now it is a nice way to keep them nice and organized. Let me know what you think. For project number 4, I took these trays. These little plastic trays come from Dollar Tree. They're 3 in a pack. And then one of the buffalo check print crafter square fabric. I think they're like 2 foot by 2 foot. I'm not quite sure. From Dollar Tree. I am going to place the fabric inside of this plastic tray and leave enough to go on the outside edge of each side of this tray. So you want to make sure that you really push that down in all 4 corners so that you have enough room, or you have enough fabric in there so it's not like sticking up from the bottom. So I started off by just hot gluing the overlap there on one end, and then I'll go around and glue those down and just leaving the corners out. I'll take care of the corners last. And as I am doing this, I'm just making sure that I am pushing that fabric down in there so that I make sure I have enough inside of the basket. Then I'll just cut my excess off. Try to cut, enough off that you still have enough to pull over the end of the basket. So I will glue that down and go all the way around. And of course, you can use any fabric that you like. This is just something, this is my style. This is what I like. And I'm not too concerned about the outside edges because I am going to be covering those up. I just wanted to make sure that they were pretty much the same length all the way around. And once I get those sides glued down, to do the corners, all I'm going to do is cut that extra off of each of the corners, and then I can fold those over and use hot glue to hold them in place. And I think these are so adorable. I think they're turning out so cute. So I'll just like pull it over to the side and hot glue it down. Like I said, I'm not too concerned about how they look because I'm going to be covering this up anyway. And you'll do that for all 4 corners. Then I took some of Dollar Tree's nautical rope. This is actually 8 foot long. You know, I thought they used to sell 9.5 foot, but this is 8 foot. So I do use the entire roll, and I will have to use some of another roll. So I just went to the top of the basket, just right under that lip there, and I'm going to secure this down with hot glue. What I did was the very first all the way around, I made sure I used hot glue all the way around on that rope. And then on the second row, that's what I was thinking, row, I put hot glue in the corners and then pulled the rope really tightly and then went back in and put some hot glue in between the ropes and then pushed the rope together. So it did take that whole 8 foot, and then to connect it, I made sure I took the tape off, and then I put some hot glue on the ends, and then I pushed them together really tightly, and then you really can't even tell where it stopped and where the new one begins. And then I will finish hot gluing that around until I get to the bottom of this basket or tray. And I just think this turned out so cute, and I have so many of these tumbling tower pieces because I like to buy them when I find them because sometimes they're hard to find. And instead of keeping them in the boxes, I can just put them and stack them nice and pretty inside of this basket. Then I'm going to take one of the other baskets and the same fabric, and I am actually going to glue the outside of this basket and cover it with the fabric. So I'm just starting off with some hot glue, and then I'll fold my piece of fabric inside and push that down nice and tight. And then once I get that set up, I went to the opposite side and did that one. And then I will cut my excess off so that I can wrap my sides in. So the sides, what I did was I just folded it in almost like a Christmas present. And then I used some hot glue to hold that down in place. And I'll do that on the same side as the opposite side as well. I'm just trying to make sure that I can keep those lines in this print lined up together so it looks like one continuous piece. And once I get that corner down, I can fold that over and glue it to the inside. And on the inside, I'm not really concerned about how great it looks because I'm going to be covering that up with some rope. So I'm going to take the same rope from the second nautical rope that I used, and I am going to hot glue that on the inside of this basket, starting at the bottom where my fabric started. And then just like I did in the first one, the very first row, I make sure I glue that down really good. And then the second ones, I can kind of just push the glue in between the 2 ropes. Cut the end off, glue that down, and this project is finished. And I think this one is adorable as well. And I think I'm just going to keep some of those small Dollar Tree wood cubes in this basket. And they look so cute on my desk. I hope you enjoyed these projects. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please let me know if you have a favorite. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.